Welcome to The Complete Works, an official podcast of FilmBook. The Complete Works is a podcast that delves film by film into the filmography of a Hollywood actor, director, writer, or composer.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Complete Works podcast, a film podcast brought to you by FilmBook. My name is Doug Hess. If you're tuning into Complete Works podcast for the first time, what I do on this podcast is discuss a specific movie from a film actor, actress, director, or composer's film career. I'm currently working my way through Tom Cruise's career, and in this episode of the Complete Works podcast, I'll be discussing with you the film Rain Man. You can find out more information about the Complete Works podcast episodes on FilmBook, that's film-book.com, or by searching the term The Complete Works. If you listen to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or another podcast service, please rate and review this episode. If you're listening to this episode on YouTube, please like our video, subscribe, and consider becoming one of our patrons on patrons at patrons.com/FilmBook. Your support helps us create more engaging content. And as I said, we will be looking at the 1988 film called Rain Man, starring Tom Cruise, and Dustin Hoffman is also in that film as well. But before we dive too much into the film, what I want to do is just kind of give you a quick, 20-second recap of what the movie is about. It's actually about a selfish LA yuppie, starring Tom Cruise as a yuppie, and that he learns that his estranged father has left him a fortune to an autistic brother who lives in Ohio that he didn't even know existed. And so he goes on the hunt for his brother to set out across the country, hoping to gain a larger inheritance by basically taking over his brother's inheritance, $3 million in terms of this. What I want to do is, really start off by telling you what I thought of this film in terms of this. When this came out in 1988, I remember watching the film in the theater. And to be honest with you, wasn't really a huge fan of the film back in 88 when it first came out. It since has grown on me, and obviously I had a chance to go back and rewatch it for this episode. Wanted to give you my take on it, and what I thought was really interesting, how much I had forgotten about the movie, but also how much that had really grown on me. And it's a lot of this film is kind of the same aspect. It's an individual who thinks he's been cheated out of an inheritance and that it all should be his. Of course, he didn't know that he had this brother, and now he's autistic. He finds out that his brother not only is autistic, but a very high-level functioning autistic individual who really loves having a routine, and as long as he's in his routine, the world is great. But anything that disrupts that routine, we find that really throws his brother off in the film. So those are a few things. Dustin Hoffman's character is Raymond, and Tom Cruise plays Charlie in the film. In terms of that, what's really interesting is I think this. Like I said, when I go back and I'm a little older now, kind of studied a little film a little bit more in depth, what really makes this film work, in my personal opinion, is the fact that not only do you have two incredible actors, Dustin Hoffman and Tom Cruise, but I really think that Dustin Hoffman's character plays it straight down the middle. I also thought that his character has a lot of limitations on it. And the more I thought about that, I think that works because he was playing a character that had a lot of limitations. Just like I said a few minutes ago, just as long as things were on a routine, he was fine, but he wasn't able to adapt or isn't able to adapt to any of the outside changes in there. And I really think that shows a wonderful performance by Dustin Hoffman. Tom Cruise character really comes off as kind of a jerk. Also comes off as somebody that's all about him and doesn't or kind of forgets about his brother, and that there's somebody actually out there that is in need of something out there as well. And so that chemistry works. There's some frustration and friction at the very beginning. And then as the movie slowly proceeds, you see that the at least Tom Cruise's character, Charlie's, comes around and sees his brother for who he truly is in terms of that. It's also kind of an interesting film. Like I said, it talks about this relationship that really starts this journey, and I really think not only changes Cruise's character, but also Hoffman's character as well, but probably more Cruise than anyone in terms of this. Cruise, he plays this, yuppie. He's driven, he's unhappy, he's a workaholic, and then he really gets bent out of shape when he finds that his father basically only leaves him a 1949 Buick Roadmaster, while his brother inherits $3 million from a trust. So Charlie, who's played by Tom Cruise, goes to work, does a little investigation, if you will, to discover with shock that this trust goes to support his older brother, that he had no idea that even existed in the process. So yeah, you can imagine Charlie goes wild, thinking he's been cheated, and kind of a little confused because he doesn't even know and understand that he has a brother out there in terms of this. So what happens? Obviously, Charlie goes out to pick up his brother and wants to discover who his brother is in terms of that. Again, I think Dustin Hoffman's character, obviously a brilliant actor, Academy Award winner. He really plays it, like I said, straight down the middle with the little limitations, and does a beautiful job, and obviously wins the Oscar for it, and rightfully so in terms of that. Cruise plays it yuppie. I think with his age, and again, a wonderful actor. He comes off very believable in this. His frustrations are real. In terms of that, and like I said, Dustin Hoffman really plays it straight in this, and I think it would be interesting to see some deleted scenes behind that, within the movie, because of the way the dynamics worked in terms of that. Everything changes in the movie except Raymond. I think is probably the one, when I say Raymond, meaning Dustin Hoffman's character. I think he changes a little bit, but not dramatically within the film. He is the one constant rock, one of the most constant characters that does not change in this. Like I said, Tom Cruise's character really goes a little 180. There's kind of an example here. I'm reminded of the roadside diner that they stop at along the way. His brother is still kind of stubborn because he insists on his routines. And I wrote some notes down here that says the maple syrup is definitely supposed to be on the table before the pancakes come. That's one of those examples that he's in a routine and he knows, or at least in his mind, that the syrup has to be there, maple syrup has to be on the table before the pancakes come. Well, Charlie, as you can imagine, he does not quite understand, and I say Charlie meaning Tom Cruise's character, the concept and what this world that Raymond lives in. And so he grows very frustrated and almost, ballistic in this. Well, eventually throughout their journey and their travels together, he finds that, he really does love his brother, and that love involves accepting Raymond exactly who he is with his, and I'm going to say flaws in quotes, because with Charlie, I think he thinks Raymond has his flaws, but in Raymond's world, he doesn't have flaws. This is just his world. So it's in the eye of the beholder in terms of that. So I think that's kind of the example there. The other couple examples that throw in there is when he goes to Vegas and is trying to count cards, or Raymond is, and he kind of uses his brother along the way to make money. And then, again, he really kind of sees what type of a jerk or how insensitive he was or is with his brother. And like I said, Raymond does not change, but Cruise does throughout this. We talked a little bit, or we want to continue talking a little bit about the characters and the actors in this film that stick out to me. Obviously, I think 90% of it is Tom Cruise and Dustin Hoffman. I don't want to say that they stole the show or hogged the show, because I think that's kind of easy to do. But I think, that's what the movie is about these two brothers, these two characters. And, Valerie Golano, I pronounced that wrong, excuse me, plays Cruise's girlfriend, Susan. She's in the mix a little bit and kind of helps Charlie, Cruise's character, see kind of, if you will, the error of his ways. But he really has to find this out on his own. And so the film is really about two characters. They carry the show. They carry, again, like I'm going to say, 90% of the show with the two of them. The two of them in that presentation, and there's just everybody else is just supporting characters and there when they need to be, whether it's at the beginning, talking with the doctor at the hospital, or at the diner. You have waiters and waitresses throughout the show, or even the casino workers are there. Everybody plays a part in the film, but really it's these two characters that really drive 95% of the film. And so they, Dustin Hoffman's character, I'm not 100% sure on what he had to go to prep and train for his role, but it definitely worked. In trying to get into the right mindset in terms of that as well. So really, of the two, and I know we're talking about Tom Cruise here, but I really think Dustin Hoffman steals the show with his performance, is a star, with Cruise really being the supporting actor, if you will, in my opinion, with the film in terms of that. So, what are some other films in the genre? One that I know maybe some people wouldn't think of, but one that kind of comes to my mind is Tootsie. starring Dustin Hoffman. And again, I understand that we're talking about Tom Cruise here, but just the way Dustin Hoffman can get into a character, okay? Get into a character and really dive in, and that will carry a show or a performance, a movie, whatever we want to say. In terms of that, I think that really carries a lot of weight and really shows what type of an actor that Dustin Hoffman is. But I also think that it brings to light others in that as well. Another film that comes to mind is Forrest Gump with Tom Hanks. Is another excuse me, is another film that really comes to mind with Tom Hanks, and how everybody had to kind of get into character in terms of that. A Beautiful Mind from 2001 is another one. The Theory of Everything from 2014. These are all examples that kind of come to mind of other films that are in that genre that kind of go up with Dustin Hoffman and Tom Cruise with Raymond. But what's really interesting, in my opinion, those Tootsie and Raymond are just really phenomenal, and really shows the range that some of these actors can get into, especially Dustin Hoffman and some of the characters that he can get into. Obviously, Tom Hanks wins the Academy Award in Forrest Gump, and so does, I forget the actor's name for The Theory of Everything. And I believe Russell Crowe also won the Academy Award for A Beautiful Mind. So, and maybe he didn't, maybe he was only nominated. I'm sorry, I'm going off of memory here. But just really kind of shows a really diverse in a way that they can jump in and saying this. What do I think about this film? You know, at first, I told you when I first saw it back in '88, wasn't a huge fan of the film. And I would have given it a much lower score in terms of that. I was younger, didn't really understand or did not appreciate the talent that I was seeing on the screen. So when I had the luxury and the chance to watch this again, obviously my attitude has changed. I honestly probably would have given it a 4 in my younger days, and that may be generous. But now it's a solid 8 for me on a scale of 1 to 10. And really, a lot of it, I think, goes to Dustin Hoffman for his performance. But, you know, Tom Cruise is spectacular in the film as well. And you cannot overlook those together. I would also say that the chemistry that the two have is phenomenal. It'd be interesting to see them in some other films. I think they just really had a chemistry that works with the two of them. You don't see that every day when it comes to having individuals out there. So I think that was a testament to both of their performances. So again, this film was released on December 16th, 1988 in the United States. It had a budget approximately $25 million. Opening weekend, it made a little over $7 million. It grossed in the U.S. and Canada a little over 172, almost 173 million. Gross worldwide 354, almost 355 million. So did very, very well. It's a film that runs 2 hours and 13 minutes in length in terms of that. 4 Oscar wins for this film that's out there, starring Cruise and Dustin Hoffman. Just really phenomenal what they were able to achieve, and really everybody was able to achieve with the making of that film. Just wonderful performances, and again, the two of them really worked at a wonderful chemistry that was out there. I mentioned a second ago with the Oscars and the wins. Let me get my appropriate notes out here and see if I can find this real quick. 1989, obviously, it was a winner of Best Picture. Best Actor in a Leading Role, Dustin Hoffman. Best Director, Barry Levinson, was also a winner. And then they also won the Oscar for Best Writing Screenplay written directly for the screen. So 4 Oscar winners. They were nominated for several others: cinematography, Best Art Direction, Set Decor, Best Film Editing, and Best Music Original Score. Those were all nominees. But again, they won 4 Academy Awards in terms of that. And as far as I am concerned, for what it's worth, I don't think there's any question that they definitely deserve that when it comes to winning in terms of that. So let's pull up some trivia here that hopefully you will find just as entertaining as I did in this. So we will kind of go with some trivia here. For the in-flight viewing, several airlines deleted the sequence in which Raymond, played by Dustin Hoffman, reels off statistics on airline accidents. Not something that you would want to see or do, right? During filming, Dustin Hoffman was unsure of the film's potential and his own performance. 3 weeks into the project, Hoffman wanted out, telling the director, "Get Richard Dreyfuss, get somebody, because this is the worst work of my life." As you know, he grabs his second Best Actor Academy Award for his work. Hoffman spent a lot of time with Kim Peek, the inspiration for the character Raymond. Raymond's writer. Rain Man's writer Barry Morrow first met Peek in '86, and on winning an Oscar for the screenplay for his movie in '89, gave his Oscar to Kim Peek for that. So I think that was pretty cool and incredible. Let's see here. Actually, Dustin Hoffman was originally hired to play the part of Charlie with Tom Cruise, but after being moved to tears, seeing a savant named Leslie Leakman, who is blind, mentally handicapped, and has cerebral palsy, play full piano on the bar by ear, he decided to play the part of Raymond instead, which is kind of interesting. During filming, Hoffman and Cruise doubted the movie's potential and jokingly called it 2 Suckermans in a car. Cruise always wanted to rehearse while filming. He and Hoffman rehearsed while driving to the set, and in their trailers during takes, they frequently switched roles. Michael Caine has revealed that Tom Cruise's performance in Rain Man is one of his personal favorites.